I turned 70 years in early March '09 and invited a bunch of underprivileged children from the Boys and Girls Club of Annapolis to the Chesapeake Children's Museum to Heidi's Pizza Tea Party. We had a ball by singing, dancing, eating, drinking, and I taught my program Germany in a Nutshell, which was well received. The afternoon was reserved for about 60 adult guests at the new Park Place condo complex. Fine food, wine, and music, played by various local entertainers and myself. My friend Nora even played the washboard. After I was born illegitimately in March of '39 and adopted by a lovely couple a few months later, Mother sang to me, and later on we always harmonized while doing the dishes. Therefore, I learned many children's songs from various generations. After all, my mother was 43 years older than myself, and father 54 years my senior. In September of my birth year, World War II broke out, and my father tried to help Jewish friends to escape. He was caught doing this and lost his life through an accident. But I think he was helped to fall out of his office window to his death shortly before Christmas of 1941, when I was 2 years old. Like so many other people, Mom and I had to leave Berlin since the city was heavily bombarded because Hitler's headquarters were located there. We were dropped by train in a little village called Gangloff-Sömmern in Thuringia. Our rented room was located above the blacksmith's workshop and was also home for little mice who ran across our beds looking for a few crumbs. Mother worked in the fields for a bit more rations and unfortunately was raped by the Russians that occupied Thuringia. At that time, my left facial side was paralyzed when I saw children die in front of us during a bombing in Erfurt, the biggest city in our area. Children can be rude. I was called names like Schiefmaul and was rather upset about that during all my childhood. I became a wallflower. When returning to Berlin after the war was over, I started school and entered into Kinderhort, a daycare center for latchkey children. Mother worked for a British general since our area was occupied by the British, and I was able to wear hand-me-downs from the general's somewhat older daughter. I felt like a princess. I'm still in very warm touch, by the way, with the headmistress of this daycare center. She is now 92 years old, dear third mother Tanla. Mother afforded me a half an hour of piano lessons every 2 weeks, but oftentimes I did not want to practice and rather roller skate. Mom chased me around the kitchen table, trying to stop her. I screamed, "Mami, vergiss dich nicht!" I locked myself into the bathroom until the storm was over. My piano teacher, Mrs. Knörrich, with only one good eye, passed on a wonderful award to me when I had practiced well, an Americana with half chocolate and half sugar on top. I always brought it home to Mommy and shared it with her. We rented part of our apartment out and at one time had 2 older sisters live with us. Fräulein Johanna Lohmann played the piano, helped me with my lessons, took me to my first Wagner opera, Die Meistersinger, and later on rebound her own Liederbuch for me as a gift for Christmas in 1956. I still use it lovingly. Johanna died first and then Agnes as well. They had moved away into their own apartment, but we kept contact for a long time. They were very important in my musical development. After 10 middle school years of education, I entered into a 2-year business college, graduated in 1957, and worked for 11 years in Berlin in various positions. I wanted to improve my English and, therefore, found myself an au pair job in New Jersey in 1967. I entered the U.S. via the big Bremen from Bremerhaven to New York. I remember the first impression were those humongous cars driving around in Halifax, Canada, where we refueled during winter storms. I met my first friends aboard and worked for a couple with 3 children, grandma and dog. It was a difficult time, but I was able to work my way up from mother's helper to sales manager for American Map Company within 15 years. I wanted to stay only for 1 year, but I will celebrate my 42nd year in the United States on December 12, 2009. I never looked back, but returned to Berlin when my dear mom was diagnosed with incurable cancer in 1971 and died on May 9th, Mother's Day. How well-fitting for a woman that had taken charge of a little baby girl in 1939. My parents had wanted to call me Heidi after the new movie with Shirley Temple, but read an article about a Turkestan princess called Heidi with an A, H-A-I-D-I. So they called their little princess Heidi, H-A-I-D-I. I love my name spelled differently. In 1981, at age 42, I bought my first car and encircled the United States with Fritzl, named after my deceased father. I was looking for a small town where I could settle and fell in love with Annapolis, the capital of Maryland. Annapolis reminded me of small European cities, and it had fine architecture, a wonderful exposure to water, and a cultural center called Maryland Hall for the Creative Arts. We have our own opera company, symphony orchestra, ballet theater, chorale, and wonderful galleries and restaurants. I purchased 2 houses within 5 years and started European House Cleaning, Inc., and Almost Home Bed and Breakfast. When I worked very hard during these years, I relaxed with music. Meanwhile, I had another piano again, sang German songs from my handwritten and illustrated Liederbuch, started entertaining kids and adults with my program Germany in a Nutshell, taught German at the senior centers and at the community college. In 2000, I cut a CD with German pieces of music that I loved, despite of the fact that a New York voice teacher had forewarned me that I never would amount to anything in this musical field. This CD has reached friends in many countries. I send it to and tells of my happiness and my German background, which I will never forget. I am still a German individual and more German here than in my home country. I love wearing my dirndl and dancing at elegant balls in my evening formal dirndl.